I want to thank all the people that helped to make tonight possible. You have a sheet in your program book that details many of the people who made this possible. It has been wonderful. Thank you to all the tributes that we've had and the people that put those together. Thank you to all of you for being here to celebrate me, but also to celebrate us. What was our life like 20 years ago? 20 years ago, there were no smartphones. There was no Twitter. Today, again, there is no Twitter. It's now X. 20 years ago, there was no YouTube. And only college students had this thing called Facebook. What was Kol Hadash like 20 years ago? There was no permanent office. There was no congregational library. There was no sign on a road that said, "We are here," and there was no full-time rabbi. As for me, 20 years ago, I had no PhD, I had no children, I had no gray hair. 20 years is a long time. When I first came to Kol Hadash as a rabbi under age 30, I introduced the idea of rabbi years. Like dog years, where 1 year humans is 7 years for dogs. Well, maybe with all of the ups and downs and big idea and meaningful moments in human contact, that 1 year as a rabbi is worth at least 4 years of human experience. And the idea that at that time I had been a rabbi for 3 years, so I had actually 12 years of rabbinic year experience, it gave me, and maybe gave some of you, confidence that an under 30 could still be a guide and a teacher and a leader for this congregation. Well, tonight, 20 years on, having taught so many classes, led so many Shabbat and holiday celebrations, given so many sermons, worked with so many families within and beyond Kol Hadash to celebrate and commemorate and remember, how old am I in rabbi years now? Havdalah means distinction, the end of one time, the beginning of another. And the rituals appeal to our senses to remember what came before, the feel of the candle, the smell of the spices, the taste of the wine, the sound of the flame being extinguished. Tonight, we remember the moments we've had together over the last 20 years. My first high holidays here at North Shore Unitarian Church, before they had installed air conditioning. It was so hot that I invited anybody who wanted to take off whatever they want to the point of decorum. They could do it. And it was so hot that my watch band melted and discolored my shirt. There were the years of the wandering humanistic Jews. We had meetings and services in Deerfield and in Highland Park, at the Westridge Center, at the Heller Nature Center, even a service on Rosewood Beach. We had meetings and office work in Lincolnshire. We had services in Evanston. We went to Winnetka for high holidays, where nobody would expect to find Jews. And then for many years, we were in Lake Forest for high holidays, where nobody would expect to find Jews. And so we finally found our congregational home here inside a church where nobody would, well, a Unitarian church, you might expect to find Jews. And here we have air conditioning, and we also have an office space and storage space and fruitful collaboration with fellow travelers with our neighbors and friends here, our hosts at the North Shore Unitarian Church. It was a major change for our movement in 2007, and for me, when Sherwin Wine died. Now, I was never going to leave Kol Hadash to go back to Detroit, but I did add the work that I do now as the Dean for North America of the International Institute for Secular Humanistic Judaism. I've always been deeply appreciative that Kol Hadash has always seen my work with our broader movement, be it other communities of the Society for Humanistic Judaism or the Institute, that work is complementary to our goal to spread the word about humanistic Judaism here and everywhere. Over those 20 years, we lost many members of our Kol Hadash family. A few of them I saw all the time. Others I only met briefly or saw on the high holidays. As it began, the Shabbat yahrzeit list, the high holiday memorial list, it was strangers being remembered by strangers in that first year. 20 years later, increasingly, those names have become friends, my friends, being remembered by my friends. When Irene mentioned that moment about her father's funeral, I remembered another moment in that process that was meaningful to me. When I visited her mother and her father in the nursing home at Whitehall, I think it was, her mother was feeding him pudding. And she asked him, "Would you like more pudding?" And he wasn't always coherent, but his response to "would you like more pudding" was, "Always." And it was that moment of touching connection. It was true love between the two of them, even in that difficult moment. I was so privileged to be a part of that. And that's what you've done for me, is you've opened your homes, your lives, these meaningful moments for me to be a part of them. And so now when I read that yahrzeit list on a Shabbat, when I read that memorial list for the high holidays, I know so many of those names as real people who I got to know and who welcomed me into their lives. Now, I've also seen my own family's names join that list. Some may remember my brother Dorian's sudden death in 2013, or my father's last decline after 5 years with cancer when he died in 2017. He died on a Tuesday, and Rosh Hashanah services were that Wednesday evening, and he died in Michigan. Some of you were impressed that I led services under those circumstances. I was deeply impressed and touched at the love and support and caring that I received, the help that I received from all of you. And it's what we've always received when we've needed it and asked for it. Now, when you're a rabbi and you give lots of sermons, they're like your children, right? You don't always pick favorites, but sometimes you like some a little more than the others. One of mine was a sermon series I gave on the hardest things to say. Things like, "I was wrong and you were right," or "I don't know." It's very hard for me to say that. But the hardest one for me to say in the past and even today is, "Help me." I don't ask for help very much, but whenever I have, you have helped me. You always have helped. We have so many dedicated and wonderful volunteers that help us make Kol Hadash into something real. Our steering committee chairs and members, dedicated treasurers and committee chairs who keep the lights on and the trains running on time, fantastic Sunday school teachers and 2 stellar youth education directors, Dawn and then Alana, our invaluable choir and 2 stellar music directors, Sarah and then Ellen, our amazingly collaborative administrators, Dova and Irene and Jeremy, all those families who have trusted me and trusted us with their children's Jewish education and their Bar Mitzvah celebrations, all of the members over all of the years who came to all those Shabbat services and high holidays and book discussions and adult learning programs and Winers meetings and everything else, you helped me to do what I love to do. It may be hard for me to say, "Help me," but it's very easy for me to say, "Thank you." And I have to thank my family as well. They have been my laboratory for experimenting. They have been my most honest critiques, and certainly not reticent to offer feedback. They have kept me honest and humble, and they have been along for the ride. I've always tried to make it clear that this is my job, it's not their job. But they know that they're along for the ride. After all, how often have you had to listen to a member of your family speak for 20 minutes and not say anything? They do it every year. There are so many memories, so many warm and deep feelings, and so many more to come. Paul was mentioning these wonderful short versions of humanistic Judaism, and it reminded me of the year we spent trying to find a good catchphrase for Kol Hadash. We had ideas like matzah without dogma, or my favorite that didn't get as far as it deserved, cheap and easy. Just imagine having a shirt with our logo and cheap and easy. Wouldn't that be a talking point? The one that won was very good. It was, "In good we trust." I like that slogan. But there are many ways to say who we are and what we do. I always tell people in every class I teach on our philosophy, I have a lot of experience. I've been talking about this for a long time. But the best way to tell what we do and why we do it is, why do you do it? What's meaningful to you about this? Why did you find it? Why does it speak to you? Why are you still here after all these years? We have so many more moments to come. And when we share wine at special moments, as we have on all those Shabbats, as we did tonight, to mark the end of one piece of our journey and the beginning of the next, we offer a very simple and yet a profound blessing. The blessing is l'chaim, to life. Life is not simple. Congregational life is even more not simple. I sometimes joke that this would be an even better job if it weren't for all the people. But I have to say that being your rabbi is a great job because of all the people. The personal connections, the smiles and the tears, the ordinary and the extraordinary moments. It's because of all the life, human years and rabbi years, 1 year or 20 years or 120 years. As we always create community by connecting with each other, let us now wish each other what I wish all of us tonight and 20 years on, l'chaim, to life. Turn to the people near you and wish them l'chaim, to life.